May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, O God, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. Isaiah's future peaceful kingdom sounds like anarchy at the zoo. But anarchy that has surprisingly gone well. I imagine to fulfill Isaiah's vision of peace that a negligent zookeeper accidentally left the orangutan cage open. As the only zoo creature with opposable thumbs, the orangutan unlocked the bear cage, the lion cage, and the ox cage. And then the ox rammed into the lamb cage, and a deer jumped in from a nearby forest, and the leopard slinked out of her cage. And everybody must be really well fed because the bears, the polar bears, and the grizzly bears are supposed to be tearing everyone to shreds. The lions, too. There are lots of carnivorous predators here. And instead, Isaiah says, the cow and the bear shall graze. Their young shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. They are vegetarian animals. And if we weren't convinced about how safe and idyllic this was already, Isaiah says, the wolf shall lie down with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. So maybe it wasn't an orangutan after all, but a child that let all these animals into what should have been total chaos. Then all of a sudden, in this vision, there is a nursing child playing over the asp hole. This is getting nuts. The hole of the asp, a venomous snake, there's a nursing child over that. Can you imagine the children that Vicky was talking about holding, putting them over the hole of a venomous snake? This is Isaiah's image of wild peace. Then a weaned child, a toddler, puts his hand over the adder's den, a venomous viper. Does this sound like the normal order of the world to you? That set you up. No, it does not. This is the Cincinnati Zoo last May if Harambe, the silverback gorilla, didn't grab and drag the child in a threatening manner. This is Isaiah's image of peace, where the most dangerous and the most vulnerable creatures on the planet are modeling getting along together. For Isaiah, peace is in the future, not in the present. Usually with peace, we think of serenity and calm and being placid. But here we have peace as disruption. Peace as a disturbance of the natural order. Peace as jerking us into thinking what is normal is not peaceful. It rattles us from the status quo. For Isaiah, peace will come when the world reflects the vision that God has for us to love one another, for us to keep each other safe and fed and sheltered. Peace is not normal. Peace is what we strive for. Peace can be an inner state, but that cannot be the end. Do you believe that peace is possible? Yes. Yeah. John the Baptist is calling. He is crying out in the wilderness reliably the second Sunday of Advent. John the Baptist marches into our sanctuary in camel skin and a leather belt, eating bugs and honey, shouting at us, calling us a brood of vipers, warning us that the one who is more powerful than I is coming after me. I am not worthy to carry his sandals. He will baptize you with the Holy Spirit and fire. He tells us that the Prince of Peace is coming, the one who disrupts the natural order with his ministry and with his identity. The gospel writers often brag that the band of Jesus followers who hung out with the Prince of Peace were an odd bunch, meaning they did not belong together. They were crossing identities with their gatherings. They were male and female, Jew and Greek, tax collector and prostitute, old, young, rich, poor, sick, healthy. The message of Jesus compelled them out of their lives and prompted them to follow a new calling and a new path, and perhaps most significantly, with each other. With the people who didn't look like, didn't think like, didn't sound like them. Yesterday, an organization called Artists for World Peace held a panel discussion on illuminating unity. They asked me to moderate it, not to sit on the panel because Christianity is the more well-known dominant religion, but they asked me instead to model Christianity as listening, as asking questions, as lifting up other religions. And I love doing this sort of thing, so I said yes, and I didn't know what to expect. And I'm going to be honest with you, this might surprise you. When I hear the phrase world peace, I have a big inner eye roll. Not because my heart and soul do not long for world peace, but with everything going on in the world, with war, with hunger, famine, world peace sounds like a joke, an impossibility. We know that war and famine, violence and poverty as worldwide norms. Peace is not normal, and it is almost impossible to imagine. It involves a disruption of what feels like the natural order. Even with my big inner eye roll, I listened. A representative of the Baha'i faith quoted a message delivered to the United Nations in 1985 during the UN's International Year of Peace. Quoted this person saying, "Whether peace is to be reached only after unimaginable horrors precipitated by humanity's stubbornness, clinging to old patterns of behavior, or if peace is to be embraced now by an act of consultative will, it is the choice before all who inhabit the earth." And the speaker went on, "World peace is not only possible, but inevitable. It is the next stage of evolution on this planet." A Muslim representative quoted verses from the Quran that say, God or Allah has created us as different for, quote, us to get to know one another better. She talked about some of the misconceptions projected on her religion, such as women being treated poorly. That is a cultural norm, she urged. Or Islam being inherently violent. That is a political thing, she urged. None of those degradations of humanity come from Allah or the Quran. The Hindu representative on the panel reminded us that peace is not simply the absence of war, but can be very painful. That spending time with people unlike us can be like walking through a complex thicket. Because truly living with plurality and mutuality, we have to learn to unlearn what we have been taught, and that is painful. But after we come out with tremendous richness, she promised. When we hang out with people of different religions, with people who think differently than we do or look different than we do, we notice difference as beautiful, as illuminating, as important for wholeness. We can no longer say, I don't see difference. But we can say instead, I embrace difference as a part of wholeness, and I have a deeper understanding of who I am and of the world because of you. I realized, listening to them, that I needed the difference, the distinctness of my own religion to teach me about peace. I need Jesus and the prophets who anticipated him to remind me that peace is possible. to collapse time in my heart and relight the fire in me that actually believes the inevitable evolution of humanity is towards a peaceful society. A peaceful kingdom isn't something that is here yet, obviously, but it is something we can imagine and hold in our hearts as we inch the world towards it. I need Jesus to remind me that peace is not the absence of war, but a radical relearning of how to be in community together, in global community, in local community, in community with the divine inside of us, waiting to awaken. Leaving humanity to its natural order, we live in siloed communities, with people who look the same, who think the same, who have similar educational backgrounds, and we're probably not exempt from that here. Peace then would be traveling out of those silos, reaching out to people of different backgrounds, faiths, races, and working on ourselves in community to decolonize our minds from the ways we were taught to understand people in easily identifiable boxes that we can hold at arm's length. And in Advent, God is calling us out of those boxes to encounter each other anew. Peace is calling. What image of peace works for you? Does the image of peace as a disruption of the natural order of zoo animals lying together, or the image of peace as serenity, or the image of peace as intentionally being with people you don't belong with? Which images of peace work for you? I ask you this because this is a time of calling. Calling in the prophetic sense that we are each called by God to do something to bring more peace, more love, more healing into this world. And it's going to look different for each of us based on our God-given gifts. And we are not called to call each other out, but to call each other into God's work toward a more peaceful planet. A wonderful organization that helps people of European descent, white folks, understand our unconscious biases is called SURGE, Showing Up for Racial Justice. They meet in Hartford, and they have workshops like how to talk to your family about racism over the holidays, or Racism 101. And their model is calling people in to this work, not calling people out by shaming or one-upping each other about who can be the best justice seeker, but seeking to transform all of us from the inside, to make the world better. And I need Jesus and organizations like SURGE to help me see that peace maybe is possible, that it is not here yet, but maybe it will be someday. This is the wisdom of Advent that turns our inner eye rolls into renewed hope. The wisdom that recognizes that there could and should be all sorts of improvements to our communities, to our world, to make them better, but that tells us to wait and hope and inch the world toward the world that God invites us to create by being with each other across difference. The wisdom of Advent also teaches that we need a little child to lead us to that world, to remind us of the innocence and wisdom of hope, the possibility of a peaceful planet. And it is the Mother Mary who first held Jesus, who feeds him from her body, who labors for Christ, who is the first called to be led by a child, by this child of Jesus whose birth we await. And what a reversal of the natural order of power, that a small child would be our leader. And so awaiting this child is surely awaiting the peace that only God can give, the peace that passes understanding, Mary is called, as a mother, as a prophet, to bring this peace into the world. This is Mary's calling. What is your calling? To bring peace. Let us be reminded that with Jesus, unlikely, unordinary things happen in the name of God. As Jesus awakens in our hearts this season, let us remember that miracles can happen, like peace. Truly, let this be so, because the world needs it. Amen.